Welcome to an incomplete guide to personal growth. We invite you to take a breath and take a listen to our podcast that explores the wonder, humor, challenges, and sometimes those self-inflicted wounds on the journey of personal growth.
Our weekly podcast conversations include stories, resources, and tools that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're the mother-daughter duo of Sydney West
and Kelly Arundel. Hey, Sid.
Hey, Mom. And Aunt Julie.
That's
Hi,
right.
Sid. Hi,
It's so funny to be saying "Hey, Sid" when we're
I
not
know.
in the same place.
We're not in the same place, but you guys
No.
are. So,
Yeah, we
We're
are.
good.
We are in Broomfield, Colorado.
woo.
It's
So
a
far.
sunny day.
It's a nice
Oh, it
day.
is here
Kelly
too.
brought the nice weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is nice.
So yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. I was
And-
laughing because I come in here and I just have a cat. We just have a cat.
Just the one
at
cat.
home.
Yeah.
And this is like you never know what animals are going to be here.
It's true.
Other than the
Yes.
people, but but
So rude.
this I was greeted by two dogs
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
and a big,
Eleanor and Wilson.
a big Irish
Yeah.
setter, right? And what
Golden.
is
Yeah.
it?
He's a
Golden.
field
Golden.
But
Yeah.
he's red haired. And and then Ella, who's a Bernie Doodle, and
Yeah.
then the three-legged cat Boozer, who
I love Boozer. Oh,
is-
man.
Gotta love booze.
got to be 20,
I love
30
Boozer.
pounds. Just a massive,
Oh, yeah.
beautiful cat. Anyway, so and then later Mitch and Jesse come and they bring
Oh, so they
their
bring their
dog.
puppy?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
So
man.
Julie, most people, they babysit their grandkids.
Grandkid.
And and that's a lot, But
That's
no,
nice.
she
I
has
do. I babysit my
grand
grandkids.
dogs and neighbors'
And grand
dogs
cat.
and cats. Yeah, she babysat two cats and
two
two dogs, and then the
Uh-uh.
neighbor's dog because they had an emergency, and then
Oh,
her two dogs.
gosh.
You just don't know.
And I was never a dog person.
Until you had
I was a
Megan.
cat person because
Yeah.
I didn't want to mess with the dog. I had
Mhm.
kids.
Yeah.
That's
I
enough.
had 5 kids.
Yeah.
That's enough. You
Yeah.
don't need a dog.
No.
And I never
Mhm.
was. And then I had a daughter who was
Who
just
loves
born.
Loves
First word
Megan
was
just-
dog.
yeah.
And I have now been
Yeah.
Are you a
converted
dog person?
to
Yeah.
a dog person.
We have Kurt,
That
my
is
brother. This is my sister-in-law, Julie. We need
Yes.
to introduce that. And my brother's out walking the dogs because so that we can
Keep it
record
We didn't want, if the mailman comes or something,
Yes.
or carrier
or anything.
or anything.
Yeah.
Just right.
That is so
Yeah.
funny.
So
Yes.
We have
Yeah.
enough
Aunt
yes.
Julie does not just babysit
I think
grandkids.
they have
she
enough
babysits
dogs.
animals.
yeah,
Yeah, we have enough.
we've got enough
Yes,
dogs.
yes.
If
Yeah.
nothing
Yes.
else, got to feel
Oh,
enough
man.
about that.
Yes.
So
Yes. So this week we've got my Aunt Julie on the podcast. The topic that we're going to talk about is enough and being enough, feeling enough, that you are enough, basically. So if you want to introduce anything about yourself, Aunt Julie, and then maybe kind of get into because you brought this topic to us. So if you want to explain like how that kind of what made you think of it and kind of like
Well-
how that is part of your life. Yeah.
We were talking about what
Mhm.
topics to do. And I don't even remember the few I sent, but
Yeah.
I sent a few. And all of them mean something to me because I think most people have periods of time when they don't feel enough
Yeah.
or they feel inadequate
Mhm.
Mhm.
or just like they're not. And it's funny because when I was young, I always thought I was too much. Because because my mom would say, Julie, your voice carries. Julie,
Mm.
Can you walk down the hall instead of skip?
I
Can
did-
you?
we didn't have the same mothers, and I had the same message.
I know.
Well,
I was
you
like,
gotta
that
get
sounds
along
like
so
mom.
well.
Yeah.
No, but I think a lot of, especially women,
Mhm.
heard that they were too much because I was
Yeah.
raised in a household very traditional and a woman has her place and this is what she does.
Yeah.
And sometimes I was conflicted in my own head because I didn't I felt maybe that I wasn't being authentic.
Yeah.
Like, oh yes, I'm serving my husband, or I'm serving my kids, but what about me? Am I enough? Just
Right.
me, am I enough? And I always thought it
Right.
was what I did that made me enough.
And
Right.
you've kind of, I mean, from what you've told me, like you've kind of done it all. You've, worked full time, you've been a stay at home, you've worked part time,
Right.
you kind of, so it's like you've kind of been through all those types of
I
journeys.
did.
And
As
then,
far as parenting, yes, I was
yeah.
a stay-at-home mother for years,
Yeah.
and then I worked full time
Yeah.
and had children, and
Yeah.
I saw both lifestyles, and they
Yeah.
both are difficult.
And both, I'm sure, struggle with enough.
Yes.
Feeling, yeah.
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 Yeah,
I
you
think
might
it's
too.
interesting. Yeah.
We'll have someone
we
talk
do.
about one of these days.
Like you don't know.
No, I
Y'all
meant
are
like
so
working
funny.
full time
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
doing,
And
yeah.
how you
Yes.
do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have a question, Mom?
Well, I was just looking at my notes.
I was like, are you prepared?
And well, what are the things? When do you notice maybe that
Oh,
the
yeah.
feelings creep up? Are you aware of
Mhm.
them? Do they hit you all at once, or is it?
It probably depends on where I'm at the time. Sometimes I'm
Yeah.
not aware of why. You can feel it in your body. It's very physical.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when you're anxious, do you feel
Yeah.
like anxious?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
get like a very physical feeling? Mine
Yeah.
sometimes is in the top
Your
of my
gut.
stomach or sometimes up in my chest, but you just can feel
Yeah.
that. And now I'm aware of it. Whereas I would say when I was
Yeah.
younger, I wasn't. It was just, oh, I have anxiety. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm nervous about this. I don't think that I was aware that it was more of a am I enough feeling. But I do think when you say, I think it's death by 1,000 cuts, not like one
All at
thing
once.
that happens that makes you feel inadequate.
Yeah.
At your job,
Right.
did this get done? Did you remember that? Did I do it everything well enough with your children?
Ugh.
Like, if they make a
Sorry, Sid.
mistake or if they do something.
I tried.
This one's not about you, though.
I know.
I
Sorry
tried.
to my kids.
Yeah.
But no, and you feel, am I enough? That in your marriage. I mean, there's so many different areas.
Okay, so that made me think there's two things going on. Did I do enough?
Did I do enough?
But also, simply am I enough? Those are two. They can.
Yeah, those are two
merge,
different things. Yes.
but they can be one, but they can also be separate.
Be separate. Yeah.
And I think, I don't know.
And I think that's the key is learning how to separate it, because doing enough is one thing. And generally people want to take pride in what they do and feel like it's enough for the person.
Yeah.
But you can feel like you are enough and you're enough as a person, as like a separate thing from necessarily what you do. Like maybe that time you didn't quite do everything you're supposed to, but you're still enough and you can have that foundation and not, I don't know. I feel like if you don't have that inner thing of I am enough, then the rest of your life can feel really shaky.
You're trying to catch. I think, you're trying to catch up. Yeah. And because I can catch myself comparing and going, look how much they've accomplished, or look what they're doing right now. And whoa, look at, and then I have to stop and ask the question. Well, do you want to be doing that? No.
Yeah.
Do you want that commit? Yeah. Do you have the energy?
Yes.
Is that your gift? No. Then why are you worrying that you're not enough?
Yes.
Are you enough for you? Yeah. So that's
it's like, keeping those two ideas separate, I think. Yeah. So with that in mind, can you give an example maybe of a time or like a point in your life where you had to, kind of stop yourself and be like, I am enough. I don't need to be thinking this way, or I don't know. Is there like some sort of crossroads in your life?
I don't know if there was just this one epiphany moment that I thought, wow, I'm enough. I think it builds over time. And a lot of that comes from connection and acceptance and not wanting to compete.
Yeah.
Because like Kelly was saying, you see people, well, they did this, this, and this, and I haven't done that.
Yeah.
Am I less than? And just accepting who I am. I'm a hot mess. And I will, that, Sydney. But you guys still love me.
Yeah.
And I realized, because when I was younger, I wouldn't say I'm a hot mess. I would just try to cover up all my flaws. I'm directionally impaired. If you drive with me, please navigate.
Yeah.
Or just different areas in my life, which I know is not my strength.
Right.
But I can't really point to one area. Like all of a sudden I had this epiphany.
Yeah.
I got tired of carrying the burden of imperfection and trying to live up to a standard that I didn't demand from anybody but myself.
Yeah. And I think that's so key too, is I think we put so much on ourselves. And if you were to realistically think, would I ask this of my friend? Would I expect this of anybody else? And the answer is generally no.
Right.
So you need to, be gentler to yourself with, whatever expectations you have.
I really think you do.
And I think it's hard, especially being younger, because there's just so much around you, and you have people in your life of varying degrees of success, and there is a lot of I don't think that necessarily ever ends, but I feel like it feels so intense early on, and maybe it feels intense later too, you can tell me, but it just feels so intense early on of like, hit the ground running, get you going, like you need to be at this level. And nobody's ever in the same spot. Nobody's ever it's not like everybody in your life's gonna be all together. Like, you're just all going to be at different points. And so you have to stop the comparison, so what you're doing is enough for you.
But unfortunately, from the time you're in school, what are you done? You're graded.
Yeah.
You're categorized. Are you in the gifted and talented?
Yeah.
Are you not?
Right.
What are you doing? What are you, there's this, and it's all lineal.
Yeah.
And that's not what life is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's hard to break that sense, and then when at your age or younger, when you're out of school, you're trying to establish something.
Yeah.
And get grounded and get started. And so it's,
and you're told to want all these same things, and meet these same milestones and benchmarks. And it's like, but again, that's not how life works.
And I'm wondering with the younger generation, because I'm watching some, and money matters.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. It looks, or it seems to look a little different with the simplicity that some that I'm noticing are going toward.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me have my basic needs, and then I just want to enjoy some things.
And I think that's starting to come out more, because there's the thing of, well, I'm not going to own a home anytime soon. I'm not, it's like, we know that all of these benchmarks, it's like, well, that's not going to happen. So now it's starting to be accepting that and being like, okay, but how can I make myself feel satisfied now? And so it is a lot about it. I think there's a little bit of a turn to simplicity and a turn to, okay, I have my needs met. Now, how can I enjoy and reward myself and have this time in my life where it's enough, Yeah.
Right.
I think there is a little bit of a turn to that. Honestly.
And I think that's great, because my bottom line question is, are you happy? Are you content? Are you satisfied? Because that's internal.
Yes.
And I, just look, I saw this quote, I was telling Julie about it. My best, or maybe I read it or something. Anyway, my best life does not look like your best life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're different. And what I'm wanting, my values, what I'm needing, or what I find satisfying and content.
Yeah.
And understanding that.
Maybe doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. So and Julie,
Yeah.
if you're open to kind of going through, because you've had a lot of ups and downs in your life, understatement, but if you can like maybe touch on a few of those points, like either early on or later, like points in your life that you're willing to share, and like tell us how you maybe struggled through this concept of enough, and if there were things that you did to try and help yourself feel better or feel like you're a little more like worth a little more. I don't know. Maybe like either points during your divorce or points soon after having to be a single mom, or maybe points whenever you had to bring Amari into your life, or
Had to
whenever
deal with my brother.
yes, Uncle
No,
Kurt,
my
or
brother.
yes, or like any like those types of points
Yeah.
in your life, and like struggling with this enough.
Yeah, and I could even start back at the first one when I got divorced. Like I believed when I got married that I was going to be married forever. I didn't think that there was an option. And people think differently now. You know, I'm a boomer. So, and I was raised that way. And when I got married, it was going to be forever.
Yeah.
And then the marriage did not go as planned. I had 2 little boys. And I really was thrown. You're right. I was thrown for a loop, and I felt like a failure. And I remember I had a job interview one time, and the lady asked me, tell us about a failure. And that's the first thing that popped in my head.
Wow.
Is my divorce, because I wanted that to be a success story.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And so I really did have to take a look and say, you know what? We just weren't meant for each other.
Yeah.
And this was not healthy for me or my kids.
Yeah.
And I met your Uncle Kurt.
I met my brother, and it's the best thing he's ever done.
Yeah. Tell him that. Tell him that. Okay.
Yes.
But and then I saw that there were men who were committed to a marriage, and that and I think that through all of the different things that I've been through, and I think often when you're going through those struggles like that, and I lost a son to suicide, which was very, very difficult and very traumatic. And if you think you question yourself, with other ups and downs in life, when somebody dies by suicide, it is world rocking. And you do. How did I parent? Should I have taught him this? And he was an adult. I mean, he was 34,
but still, I mean,
and he made his own choices. But still, you look at yourself, and it does make you feel like you failed. And how do you crawl out of it? I mean, because that's what people need is how. And a lot of it is in your thinking. And I find and we've talked about this a little bit, because I can get OCD in my thoughts. And they can either be negative, which they typically are when I'm or they can be more encouraging and positive. And you can train yourself to think more positive. I was very blessed that I was born an optimist. I think some people's personalities
tend to be,
and so I am very, very fortunate to be born like that, but still life is hard sometimes. And we all go through hard things. And just not focusing on the negative initially, and just trying to focus, because your brain goes. If I told you to don't think about a red car,
you're gonna think of me.
Right? What are you going to think about? Is there a red car? But so instead of thinking, I'm not going to think about this today, I just think about more positive areas. And it really does work. You can train your brain.
And so, when people can get into that spiral of, well, I haven't done enough, I'm not enough, I didn't give enough. You can train, and it's like, well, be intentional and think about points where, that was a lot. You gave a lot there. You've, set, I don't know, boundaries for yourself, or you set some time aside, like things that, positive you've been doing for yourself. Right. And then, that type of thinking, and that type of mantra almost of, I'm enough, I've done enough. And
you need a mantra because repetition.
Right. And I was going to say over and over. And then that other thought comes in. You go, wait a minute, excuse me.
Yep.
Go back to my mantra. Go back, right? Because you were talking about that before we got on camera about the conflict. Yeah.
And it's not something that you accomplish and it's done. It's something you wake up every day and decide to do.
Yeah.
And you talked about, and this can be another day, choosing joy. You choose. And that's and you can do that same with choosing enoughness.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. You can choose to believe that you're
enough. And
that's a feeling. Okay, all it is a feeling. I'm inadequate. I'm a failure.
It's not a fact.
It's not a fact. And other people would perceive maybe the exact same thing so differently. So I try to understand that's a feeling I have.
Yeah.
It's not a truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I find the physical part of it. So I can just say, okay, I'm going to just put that away right now.
Yeah. Can you imagine, Sydney, you had to grow up with this more than, I know we didn't grow up with it at all, but you have a granddaughter and Amari too is of that Gen Z where social media just is so closed in on them that you can't help but see what everybody else is putting out there.
Oh yeah.
And of course they only put the beautiful stuff.
Of course.
The good stuff.
Right. About themselves.
And so about themselves. So there's that comparison of, well, I'm not that enoughness for this next generation. Oh, to be able to shut that out and go, no, but I am enough.
Yeah. And that's not real life.
And no, and I think not unfortunately, I mean, hopefully you get some of that from your parents or your home.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have that, there's a special support. Or there's somebody that goes, don't listen to that. I see you.
Because it does help to have, not that you should like fully lean on or always need the external, like you need to have some internal belief, but it does it helps to have that support that is like, no, what you're telling yourself isn't true. Think again, like you are, this is what you're doing.
You're valued. You're valued, and you do need, and eventually you do develop that within yourself. And when you do that, then you can gift that to other people.
Yes.
You do. You can't gift that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Because you're too busy comparing. And if you gift it, then they're better than you. I mean, you do that kind of, if you're not well within yourself.
Absolutely.
So, but because I just feel for this younger generation to be able to turn that out and tune it out.
Well, I was telling your mom that my granddaughter was here for her spring break, and she's almost 15. She's 14, almost 15, and a freshman. And I was talking to her about this very thing, and she said it's so hard. And my son Mars, he's almost 18, and he said the same thing. He's like, our generation has it so much harder than yours because if you make a mistake, it'll be posted. And people, or if you're rated as a person based on how many likes you get on something that you put out there. You go to your room for a respite at night, but you're getting the text, you're getting the Snapchats. It's not always positive. And it's just, I really do. I believe that Gen X has it harder.
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Has it hard, Anne.
And it's being able to tune that out and figuring what is my value? What do I value?
Yeah.
And it may be different than the next person, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But when I take on their value of what I'm supposed to be, I'm going to lose myself.
I think that's important. It's understanding we have different values, but those values don't make us valuable.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So,
I feel like I had one more question. Actually, no, that answered my question. You already, because I asked if you think if one generation struggles more than another.
I think that there is that. I think my generation and even older, they had a different type of measuring.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was put on, like the parents carried it for the kids.
Yeah.
You need to do this because of how it's going to make me look. That's what I was grown up with. And I read a book one time, and of course I was studying religion. It was called The Family Pew. And it was so true. It was about, And all I could think about, when you go to church, you sit like this and it has to look good. But you go home and it's in shambles.
Yes.
Or you go, I can remember one time, I don't know, you or Lauren, one time I was on my phone. Why? And I was talking all nice. Why are you talking like that now? I must have just gotten on to y'all for and it's
so
like,
funny.
That's my phone voice and it's nice. But
yes.
For me, it was that you had to make it look good on the outside. There wasn't the media, the social media, but there was this pressure of how your family looked.
Yeah.
And if your kid was going through something or was caught doing something, then your parenting goes down the tubes. You're not.
It's still like
it's
that.
Still
though.
like that.
I think it is
but
still
the parents
not as much.
but the parents feel it. See, but the kids get it now at a early. They don't just
see.
get it from their parents.
They get it.
Yeah, they get it from everybody else.
They get it. So it's like this
Double.
other kind of pressure.
Yes.
I don't know. And it's multiplied.
It can.
But I do have a couple of things that we talked about to work on this week.
Yeah.
Are we at that point?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. One is the self-affirmations that we talked about.
They work.
When you notice you're focusing on your flaws, pay attention to that. That's the self-awareness that we talked about a lot about self-growth is, or comparing yourself to the coworker or the other mom or whatever else we're comparing ourselves to go, well, that's them.
Yeah.
And who am I? And come up with a mantra, if there's a scripture. I always like Psalm 139 because it says, I am who I am and I'm loved. That's a very short version, but that's
it's Cliff Notes version, but it's really good.
But it's a good all around for me. And then, or if there's some other inspirational readings that you like or a song. And then the other one, and we haven't talked about koans before. They're
we talked about.
Did we talk a little bit about that?
Very, very early on, like first couple episodes, we talked about
they're a koan is like a surprising or paradoxical word or phrase that comes from anecdote, and it's a Buddhist tradition. It comes from that, and there's not really an answer to it.
Yeah,
it's to bring about enlightenment or awakening. It's not, okay, this is not right, but it's not like Christianity. I would say Jesus is the answer. Well, this isn't that pat. It's let me think on that. So one came to me this morning actually, and it's the koan is the storehouse of treasures opens by itself. You can take them and use them any way you wish. The storehouse of treasures opens by itself. You can take them and use them any way you wish. So that's what I'm going to be thinking about during the week.
Yeah.
Just letting that and seeing what rises. What does that even say to me? Yeah. What does they mean? Right? What is this?
I love Sydney. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
I don't know. So we'll have that written.
It's open-ended.
It'll be on the website and whatnot.
Yes.
But what is that?
Yeah.
What is open to me?
Yeah.
And what does it mean I use it any way I wish?
That's deep.
Yeah.
Enoughness.
What
is that?
And I would say
it's open to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like use it.
Focus on connection and not impressing.
Yeah.
Because if you and I have to remind myself of that too. I think we all do because we want to give off a certain vibe about ourselves. So I wouldn't know if I want to impress you, but if you do put that aside and just focus on the connection, I really think you naturally lose some of that. I'm not enough.
Yeah.
It's me. And I just want to connect with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that connection part. I think that's so important. And connection with yourself. And I'm going to throw this out there because I can't help, but connection with the spirit.
Yeah.
We are each created incredibly. I just don't know.
Yeah.
By God, universe, spirit,
whatever. Yeah.
Just that very thought of of that, that I created. And how these organs and how this all works, and on good days when I can walk without falling. No, I'm just, but, it's a miracle. No.
It is for us. You'll get there, Cindy.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
But I mean, you think of that.
Yeah.
The wonder of that.
Yeah.
And then if it's in me and it's in you,
then you can connect. Yeah.
You can connect. Yeah.
Definitely.
And a little bit of vulnerability.
A little bit. And being able to see you.
Yeah.
And not just try to hide me, but
to see you.
Yeah.
And
I really do think that helps.
I do too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Such deep thoughts to finish out and leave everybody to think about.
Yes.
So good. Yes.
We're going to need to take more than one breath.
Oh, man.
You see?
Yes. Well, thank you, Aunt Julie, for sharing.
Well, thank you for having me. I always enjoy talking to you too.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, so find us on Instagram, Patreon, we have our website. We'll, keep posting blogs. If you're part of Patreon, go to meditations. We'll maybe do one about being enough. I think that'd be good. Some mantras. And if you have questions about this, if you want to leave comments and maybe tell us if there's somebody you'd like us to interview next, we are always open to suggestions. Yeah.
All right. Great. So we will be with you next Tuesday when we take a breath and take a listen.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth. There are many ways you can stay connected. Follow us on Instagram at An Incomplete Guide Podcast, where you can sign up for our email list and get posts that delve deeper into our weekly topics. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast page wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would really appreciate a rating and sharing us with your family and friends.
We're so glad you chose to spend your time with us and hope there was a thought, a resource, or a laugh that you can take on your journey. We'll be here every Tuesday for you to take a breath and take a listen.